Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Paige and we are here as part of Deschutes Public Library's virtual programming. We are joined tonight by Central Oregon Writers Guild and our lovely guest speaker, Jamie. And I'm going to turn over to Mike here in a second to get that ball rolling. But first, just a couple of details about the library. All of our libraries are currently open. We hope to see you in person. I wanted to make a quick note though regarding September and October programming. We are being extra cautious right now in these uncertain times, and we have moved all of our programming from in-person to completely virtual for all of September and all of October. We thank you so much for your patience and your understanding, and it's great to see so many faces tonight this way. So we hope that you'll continue to join us for all of our great, fun, free virtual programming, and bear with us as we work on getting back in person as quickly and as safely as possible. My name's Paige. If you need me throughout the evening, just feel free to chat at me, Deschutes Public Library Programs, and I will be here the whole time. I'm going to go ahead and turn over now to Mike Cooper, President of Central Oregon Writers Guild, to kick us off for this great evening. Mike,
all right. Thanks, Paige. Hi, everybody. Great to see you all. I'm liking, Barbara and Karina, I like the color of your glasses. Is there a special place to get these pinky orangey glasses? Because I think I'd look good in those.
For a small fee, I can direct you to Peepers.
All right. I think you've already done it.
Yeah, but
without the fee.
For $1, I can send you to the dollar store.
Okay, that's where I'm going. Thanks, Barbara. All right. I am gonna do a quick screen share here of our website and kind of talk a little bit about what's going on with Central Oregon Writers Guild. Here we go. So this is our landing page, Central Oregon Writers Guild. And here is the lovely Jamie Houghton, who will be speaking with us this evening. This is our September event. Over on this side, we've got our writing events, and these are all the ones that I can find. And if anybody has anything else they want to shout out or email me, I'll put it on there. But here's where we are tonight. Sarah Sear, who's going to be our speaker in, I think, November, has got a fall writing group that's starting, I think, right now. She's timed it to be right at exactly our Central Oregon Writers Guild meeting time. But Sarah's great, and I'm sure you could pick up on that next week if you're not already in it or if she's got room. Ellen Santasira is doing some short memoir writing classes in September, October, and November. Those are great. Check in on those. This Books in Common, I have not attended, but it's a Pacific Northwest kind of a chat thing. Looks kind of cool. I just haven't been able to make it there. My beautiful wife Irene is doing a poetry workshop at the library on Saturday. Our Blank Pages Writing Salon is Saturday night. A few authors speaking, Craig Johnson, who wrote the Longmire series, which my wife and I are watching on TV and loving. Willie Vlaughton, who my wife went and saw last year, I think, and did a great job. They're really interesting. We'll probably zoom in on that one. And then some COCC classes, Get Paid to Write. I think that's Don Sturgis. Intro to Screenwriting. That's our own Denise Lewis, right? And Songwriters Workshop again, Dawn. We have Ellen speaking in October. This is kind of cool. This is if you love Moby Dick or have not read Moby Dick, this would be kind of neat. This is a COCC class about month and a half long discussion of Moby Dick. Takes that long just to read it. Fantastic book though. Another memoir class, Jonathan Franzen, Kelly Williams, another salon. Irene's doing an intro to poetry. This is mine, creative writing workshop. Should I outline? That's in October. And then Tamara Marnell, who's joined us this evening, self-publishing platforms. And then Kristen Dorsey, who you all know, if you don't, you should, is going to be doing some generative writing workshops through the winter too. So some great stuff there. As I said, we've got Ellen next month, Sarah in November. This workshop, I'm going to post a registration to it pretty soon here, as soon as I figure out a date. This is my mentor from the OSU MFA program. Fantastic writer, fantastic teacher. I wouldn't miss this. $10 for price as members. So you can't beat that. And then our reading in December, which hopefully we'll be able to do at the library, but depends on what happens with the library as we get closer. And I appreciate that they're being cautious with the way that COVID is behaving lately. So anybody else have any classes coming up? Karina, I know you're doing some stuff. You want to share?
Yeah, I am. And I need to get my stuff to. I forget all the time. I'm doing my monthly poetry play shops, which is the second Wednesday of every month on Zoom right now. We just had a fantastic time this month. And then I'm also starting on a week from Wednesday, tomorrow, a short series for play shops called Dazzling Displays of Delight. So the focus is various formats and delight with their close cousins, beauty and wonder. And then there's going to be a fifth optional class to make your own an art book and put your text in it.
Okay.
That's what I got right now. Thanks, Mike. I
Cool.
appreciate you.
Yeah. Carol, I don't know if you've got any classes coming up, but I know Carol just mentioned she's got a book coming out. Anyone else got any great news of publishing or not so great news? Or
I had something interesting happen today.
Yeah.
A poem that had been accepted about a year ago by a small little online publication, but still I like them all. Then they folded. And I said, oh, well, that was sort of sad, but they folded. Well, then today they just came back online and said, we've got the funding now. We're going to go ahead. It's going to be actually print now instead of online. And is it okay if we still publish your poem? Well, of course.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's okay.
About that.
Cool. I had an agent ask for my manuscript about a month ago, and I haven't heard a word from her. So I think that's probably in the old manuscript file somewhere. But anybody else? Anything amazing?
I do.
Cool? Rebecca?
I'm still a self-publishing kind of gal, but I do have a book that I actually started writing 20 years ago that is finally done, and it's going to be coming out in a few weeks. So I'm very excited because I needed to finish it.
You better get started on that second one if you're going at 20 years a pop on those.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
All right.
My sister is an academic historian, but her seventh book is for regular people to read. It's called Bohemians West, and Peter Coyote loved it.
Oh, cool.
And if you'd like to see something about it, you could look up sherrylsmith.com, and it gives all the rave reviews and everything.
Oh, cool. sherrylsmith.com.
Yep.
That's great. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Well, then our lovely Mary Krakow, who is our featured reader coordinator, will be introducing our featured reader for this evening, and then following that, we'll get going with Jamie.
Mike, I have a reader for tonight, obviously, and I have a reader for next month. I'm still looking for a reader for November, so if you're interested, please send me something in the chat or send me an email, marykrakow @gmail.com. Okay, so featured reader is an opportunity for our members to just read some of their work in a supportive atmosphere. Tonight's reader is Denise. She is an editor, an award-winning writer, screenwriter, and self-published author of kid literature. She usually lives in a world of dragons, fairies, sci-fi, adventure, and comedy. Tonight's selection, In Progress, takes a different curve in the road. Take it away, Denise.
This is a short story called The Singing of the Birds. Daddy, Daddy, the birds are singing, Lily yelled. John swung the scythe over the last of the barley, blade sharp against the dry crackle of the stems. He wiped the sweat out of his eyes. The sun set behind the distant mountains, their shadows spreading over the Colorado prairie. Lily danced after brilliant birds, her chubby legs lost in the long grasses surrounding their farm. He smiled, still amazed she was his child. Play with me, she said. What kind of birds are you chasing, Squirt? Yellow warblers, she screeched. She tripped, disappeared in waving green blades. His heart banged against his ribs when her curly head didn't appear. He ran through the field. Boo! Lily giggled and jumped into his arms. John ruffled her hair. You scared me. Well, you scared my birds. Mary Ann called from the farmhouse. Dinner in 5. John took Lily's hands. Sing like a bird, Daddy. He pursed his lips and mimicked the yellow warbler, the high-pitched chip floating in the warm breeze. Lily laughed. More. He whistled all the bird calls he knew while they walked toward the house. John pushed open the carved oak door and Lily skipped inside. He looked back at the stalks of barley drying in the waning light, content. Lily flapped her arms, running around her mother. I'm a bird, Mommy. Mary Ann laughed. Watch out or you'll have roast on your head. John hung up his hat and washed his hands. That smells heavenly. She set the meat on the table next to a fresh salad. John drew her into his arms and kissed her. You smell better than the roast. Mary Ann laughed and pushed him away. Please get me some canned peaches for dessert. Sure thing. He pulled up the door that and stepped in. Rolls of glass lined the shelves. Dried meat filled airtight containers. What they couldn't grow, they purchased from the mining town of Cripple Creek, 45 minutes away. John was reaching for a jar of peaches when the ground below his feet rumbled, like a distant underground explosion. He fell to his knees. The floor heaved in rolls. He covered his head as everything crashed off the shelves and scrambled up the stairs. Mary, Lily! Some stairs cracked in half or twisted under him. He didn't stop. Mary Ann crouched by the large couch covering Lily and her own head with a cast iron skillet. A dozen airplanes droned overhead. A crack like a large shotgun shook the house. Glass shattered. John gazed in horror through the open hole in the wall. Waves of heat whooshed over the ground and into the room, singeing the white tablecloth. A tremendous roar and mushroom-shaped cloud rose from the land. John awoke with a wrenching, rasping cough. The red sun blazed overhead, covered by dust from the never-ceasing wind. He wished it had been a dream, that it hadn't happened. The leaders of the world finally destroyed Earth, their power and money of no use now. He dragged himself off the ground and grabbed his shovel, dug into the hole of dry, deadened soil. Gone were the animals, trees, and plants that flourished a month ago. He hoped the birds escaped and found sanctuary, a secret safe place, a place they had no chance of finding at ground zero. His stomach lurched in painful spasms. He lost what little was left in his stomach, forced himself to drink warm water from a canteen, and kept digging, digging, digging. The afternoon sun burned. His blurry eyes grew as heavy as the shovel. Stay awake, finish your job. He fell asleep standing up and slowly sunk to the ground. The true nightmare came. Lily lay on the makeshift bed in the cellar, the only place left of the farm besides the contaminated well. She curled in a fetal position, her face pale, breaths gasping and shallow. Daddy, my tummy hurts. Make it go away. I will. Go to sleep and listen for the birds. Lily closed her eyes. John took her small hand in his and whistled all the bird songs he knew. I love you, Squirt. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He lifted the pillow next to Lily and covered her face. Marianne trudged down the makeshift stairs. What are you doing? Stop it, stop it, she shrieked, pounded his back with her fists. He didn't stop. She knocked him out with a jar of peaches. John woke up retching. Never mind the pain in his head, the sickness in his stomach was so great that he wished Marianne had killed him. Mary? Silence suffocated the cellar. He looked around and knew his wife was gone. He staggered up and removed the pillow from Lily's head. Pain ravaged his body while he dug his little girl's grave. With a parched throat, he whistled bird calls and laid her to rest. Violent coughing woke him up. His own. Would he never have rest from his memories? John grabbed the shovel in his cracked, calloused hands. The hole was only 2 feet deep. His body shivered. Enough. He sat down in his grave, head sticking 2 feet out the top. He cursed his height. Took too damn long to dig the grave and pile the dirt so he could reach it. Would he have enough time? He tried to take a deep breath, but coughed up blood. Not long now. John felt each spasm, each organ trying not to shut down, fighting against the contamination. His stomach churned. He gritted his teeth and scraped his shovel over the piles of dirt on the edge of the hole, over and over, covering his feet, his legs, the weight slowly closing over him like an iron door. It sidetracked him from the pain. He slowed, weakened arms barely scooping up the ground. He dropped the shovel. Fingers dragged the dirt into the hole over his torso. A flash of remembrance when the soil was moist and smelled of life. Could he get enough piled inside to finish? He wheezed for air. You can rest now, his mind said. Not done. The orange sun burned, laughed overhead. John looked at the grave next to him. Goodbye, my sweet Lily. He reached for Lily's t-shirt and the last of the dirt in the middle of it. His swollen fingers clamped onto the pale blue edge. It stretched, inching toward him. He stopped and wiped the dust from his eyes. On the far edge next to the shirt, a tiny green leaf unfurled from a slender stem. John laughed and couldn't stop until the vomiting started. When he finished, his voice croaked, Good for you, little leaf. Take back your world. Nature is a better conservator. He carefully set the t-shirt inside, covered his chest and one arm the best he could. He closed his eyes. His mind was at peace. He pulled the t-shirt and dirt over his head and let out his last breath. Daddy, come on, hurry up. The birds are singing.
Nice job, Denise. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Let's move on to our presenter tonight. Jamie Houghton is a poet, songwriter, musician, and teaching artist. Her poetry chapbook, Burn Sight in Bloom, 2017, and her full-length collection, Hero, a reimagining of the Odyssey from 2020, were released by Musahik Publications. Let me know if I'm saying that wrong. And her work has been recently been featured in Golden Walkman Magazine, High Desert Journal, Magnolia Review, Picayune Poetry, Thief Fiction, Diviner's Handbook, The Source Weekly, Court Saluni, Utterance, and Literary Mama. And you can find out more about Jamie's poetry, music, and teaching at her website, jamierosehoughton.com, which is in the chat. And without further ado, we'll let Jamie take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's really, really good to see so many faces on here. Denise, I love that piece. I was on the edge of my seat. Amazing ending. I love how you did that. So,
Thank you.
What I want to talk about today, I'm going to read a few poems, and then I'm going to take us through some free writing exercises. So if you don't have something to write with, please grab something to write with. And we're actually going to write right away. So I'm going to put the first prompt up. It's just a little warm-up prompt. and then I'm going to come back and read some poems. Bear with me. Nope. There we go. Okay, so we're just going to write for 5 minutes, and I'll time us, but it can't be true. So it has to be a wish, a lie, or a dream. Ready, go. About 30 seconds left, so go ahead and finish up. wherever you're at. All right, that's 5 minutes. So we probably don't have time for everybody to share, but does anybody want to share their wish, lie, or dream free write? Okay, that's okay.
I can do it if you want.
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah.
It's kind of silly. Okay. I sat so long at that dinner table, staring at that plate of green beans, that I drifted out of my body and into a dream world where dinner consisted of ice cream, fudge brownies, and whipped cream covered peaches fresh off the tree. Mom says I have to stay at the table until my green beans are all gone. If only we had a dog or a turtle. Yes, a giant turtle would love this plate of green beans. He'd slowly plod his way under the table, and I would sneak him a bean at a time so Mom wouldn't notice as they slowly disappeared off my plate and down the turtle's gullet. It would have to be a giant turtle so I wouldn't have to bend down to feed him. That would give away my trick. Alas, I don't have a giant turtle or a dog or any other animal that will help me with my plight. So here I sit. The skin peels off my bones until I'm nothing but a skeleton sitting in front of a dried up plate of green beans.
Thank you, Mary. That was really fun. Anybody else want to share their wish, lie, or dream? Andrew?
Yeah, sure. Just one second. Yeah, sorry about that. Since just a few of us. All right, so this was in the dream category. Let me make sure my mic's on. Yep. Okay. So I lived another life in my dream. I was happy then, I recall. The pieces fit. The souls were right. There was a sense of time that was not rushed or crushing. It just was. The green lawn where the picnic spread, the soft-edged crowd of peers ebbing and flowing as interest ran its tides. The mildness of the weather spoke of a utopian lie that lied to truth. But most of all, she was there with me. We hadn't lost touch. We hadn't grown up. We hadn't drifted off. She was there, and we were there. But somehow during that picnic, someone slipped me the red pill, and I woke up gasping, heaving against the cold cocoon of what really was. Reality's dirt will never match the gravity of those sweet nothings. That's it.
I like that surprise with the red pill. Anybody else? All right. So what I want to talk about tonight is generative writing, but sort of how you get into that mindset where you can kind of tap into your subconscious. And so that's one of my favorite warm-ups because, of course, wishes and lies and dreams all kind of come from the subconscious. But that's actually, I don't know if anyone has read that book by Kenneth Koch. It's a teaching book for children. But I love to do that exercise with all ages. So I'm going to read just a few poems, and then I'm going to take us through a reversal exercise. And we're going to talk a little bit more about free association and tapping into the subconscious. Do you guys have any questions before I read? Okay. Let me put you in a gallery view so I can see all of you. There we go. Equal night. You were so bright, X was outshone by your crown. Platinum, pigeon's belly, minky brown. Your hair changed weekly. I'd think, maybe she's unstable. That thought was a lie. I loved your hair. Suddenly, we were always at the same place. Marshalls, cafes, my favorite bar, and you, intertwined with X, looked confused. I knew why the sudden run-ins. He liked to see us squirm. Whatever he told you wasn't flattering. Your hazel eyes held no warmth for me. Eventually, I learned to strut watching the wheels of your hips. I don't mind saying now, I practiced softening my bones, plugging into some unseen electricity, because whatever that is, you had it. You danced with the sidewalk, stoked a flame with your sway, spine straight, locks gleaming. Years later, after you and X divorced, friends said he did the same thing to you he did to me. What, I ask? They won't say. You shot yourself on the first day of spring. In a recurring dream, you want to tell me something. It seems in some other morning, you should have the things I have now. My safe, clean laundry room even has a window. Original girl. She was like a baby before the encounter, hypnotized by colors, the taste of fruit, cool juice running down her wrist. The air was like a swaddle, soft, temperate. She was naked as the snake. Anything she saw glistening, she picked and ate. She was the only woman in the world with no mother. When the serpent showed her how to undulate, she tried it. Before, she was bones with light in between, a song without melody, a vibration hung sweet and rough in the air. When she walked with Adam, she could see where his missing ribs should be. And after, they were covered in garments of skin. She listened for the hum and heard nothing. Her throat was dry. She unlaced her legs and began to hunt for the first time. So I'm working on this new collection of poems that I'm reading from that I hope to put out maybe as a chapbook called Wayward Girls. So these are all sort of like different wayward girls. The wolf woman's dream. In the big walnut tree outside my window, the wolves again, moon white, tails and ears pricked to attention. They don't like it when I scream. They streak off beyond the yard. In the morning, I brush my poor excuse for fangs, rough the shaggy hair on the back of my neck. At work, the copier breaks. I grimace at the office manager. He puts his tail between his legs. That night, I lay in bed with the window open. The air licks my naked body. I wait for the wolves, keep some bits of steak by my bed, juicy and peppered. I suck on one. Who cares if I clean my teeth? The good doctor loves to hear about wolves, but I don't think I'll tell him anymore. He confides in a rat terrier between appointments. I've gotten used to the wolves, their barnyard smell, white fur outside my window howling to be thrown open. I'm just gonna read one more, I think, from this chapbook of mine, Burn, Sight, and Bloom. It's called The Mower to the Glowworms. So this whole poem is sort of an association with this title, which is the title of a poem by Andrew Marvell, The Mower to the Glowworms. Think of it as just a haircut through your heart, which is your whole body glowing, because that's what a pulse does, and your heart is electric. Think of your heart as mud struck by lightning in the womb, somewhere you cannot dive for or become small enough to see. Think of it as a slight shock combing up your spine or your skin changing like the surface of water. Think of it as division. Think of me as a witness. Think of clinging to the rain or pouring down the grate. Think of it as the last whisper before being extinguished. Think of it as sinking just to rest in the dark wet. Think of it as a buffet and your sunlight's last snack. Think of the shining blades as music. Think of your tailbone as a mouse, and you'll be fed to the peonies and the dogs and the dawn. Think of me as next. So I'd like us to do some more writing together. And I'm gonna screen share again, just so we can talk about a few things. And then we're gonna move into one of my favorite workshopping exercises. I do it to myself all the time when I get stuck. I learned it in a workshop a long time ago with Kevin Young. Is anyone a fan of the poet Kevin Young? I'm a huge fan of him. So let's get to it. So I think we all know what figurative language is, right? It's language that's intended to create some other effect in the mind of our listener, right? It's meant to take the reader beyond the literal meaning of the words involved. So I love this quote from Charles Simic, the associative process. When you start putting words on the page, an associative process takes over. And all of a sudden there are surprises. All of a sudden you say to yourself, my God, how did this come into your head? Why is this on the page? I just simply go where it takes me. Charles Simic, former United States Poet Laureate. Would anybody like to volunteer to read this little tiny poem from Charles Simic? Okay, I will. Autumn Sky. In my great-grandmother's time, all one needed was a broom to get to see places and give the geese a chase in the sky. The stars know everything, so we try to read their minds. As distant as they are, we choose to whisper in their presence. Oh, Cynthia, take a clock that has lost its hands for a ride. Get me a room at Hotel Eternity, where time likes to stop now and then. Come, lovers of dark corners, the sky says, and sit in one of my dark corners. There are tasty little zeros in the peanut dish tonight. So association, which Simic is talking about, is an idea, image, feeling suggested by or connected with something other than itself, an accompanying thought, emotion, or the like, an overtone or connotation. But this, free association, this is what we do as writers all the time. This is what I believe is at the heart of the writing process, free association. The uncensored expression of the ideas, impressions passing through the mind, a technique used to facilitate access to the unconscious. So it was originally a tool for psychotherapy. But what I'd like, so I need one volunteer, please. Denise, thank you. Okay, so we're just going to do a short demonstration of free association. So I'm going to say a random word, and then you're going to say the first word that pops into your mind. And then I'm going to say the first word that pops into my mind from your word. So we're just going to go back and forth, free associating. Obviously, if it's like inappropriate, maybe think of a different word. But okay. Okay. Dolphin.
Mammal.
Chicken.
Legs.
Arms.
Head.
Feet.
Shoes.
Laces.
Tie.
Loose.
Antlers.
Elk.
Big.
Tiny.
Ant.
Mountain.
Sunset.
Sunrise. And I'll stop us there. Thank you so much. Great job, Denise. If we were in person, I would make us do that in a huge circle and go round and round and round until we couldn't go anymore. But yeah, that's free association. So this brings us to our next writing prompt. What you're going to do is you're going to write a 5-line ode to a celebrity who's no longer alive. You should choose someone that holds some significance to you, but not anyone who you know personally, not anyone you know. So a celebrity you don't know who's no longer alive. Try to use one metaphor, simile, or piece of descriptive language in each line, and just don't overthink it because we're going to edit this heavily. So you just need something to work with. Does anybody have any questions? I'll probably give us like 10 minutes. So just do your best.
Repeat it one more time. You want us to choose a dead person we don't know and then free associate, use figurative language in each line. Is that what I heard?
Yep. So it's a 5-line ode. So a very short poem, just about 5 lines. And you got it, a celebrity who's not alive that you didn't know. And use lots of descriptive language and metaphors if you can. Yep. And if anybody gets confused too, you can hit me up in the chat too. I'll keep an eye out. All right. We have about a minute left, so do whatever you can to wrap up this little draft that you wrote to play with. Just do your best to wrap it up. All right, how's everyone doing? Do you need more time? Okay. So we're not gonna, whoop, and there's our timer. Okay. So thank you for going along with that. And we're gonna do part 2, which is kind of the meat of the exercise. And it's a little bit, it's the more challenging part. So I'm gonna share my screen again so you can see the instructions as I go over them. Here it comes, I think. Maybe not. Here we go. Okay. So what you're gonna do is take your ode, your little 5-line ode, and you're gonna take every single word possible and replace it with the closest thing to an opposite to that word. So a lot of words don't have exact opposites. So you just have to take poetic liberty and license with this exercise and just do your best. I would also say take some poetic liberty so that like keep the piece so it flows, even if you have to change other little words. Sometimes you do to make it work. And yeah, just use that associative power of your brain. You can see I put an example line. So if the original line was Elvis loved his burgers sticky with peanut butter and bacon, maybe the reversal could be something like Elvis hated his cornflakes slippery with jam and wheatgrass. I'm gonna leave that up so that if anybody gets confused. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. I'll give us a little less than 10 minutes to do that, but I'll kind of keep looking at you guys and see if you're still writing or not. we have about a minute left for this step. So just kind of do your best to wrap up wherever you're at. Okay. So now that we've messed with this piece that you wrote, we're going to mess with it just a little more. And so what I want you to do now is this is the easiest way to do it. So I numbered my lines. One, I know you can't see it super well, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm going to read them backwards. So I'm going to read line 5 first, then I'm going to read line 4 first, then line 3, then line 2, then line 1. So you're not mixing up the words. You're reading the whole line, but just the last line, the second to last line. Does that make sense? So you're reversing now the order of your lines. And then I think we should share some of these.
I'll go. That was hilarious.
And you can choose, which, some people like to share the original and the last one because they're interested in what happened there. Some people just like to share the last one. Some people just like to share the first one they wrote. So tell us what versions you're sharing, and then we'd love to hear them. So yeah, Rebecca.
Okay, I'm going to do the last one first, and then I'll do the first one. See if you... I found this quite amusing. Thank you. This was so fun. All right, and if I can read my writing, it'll help. Rushing away from the beginning of the world by standing still till you ascend. Olive drab and pale yellow howls draining your existence. Gargantuan insides unadorned with sandpaper, with reduced baldness and miniature dull gloves. Offbeat triangle amplified by grating bass. Chilling frown, platonic feet pinching back and piano keys with disparate apathy. No way you can guess who that's about. All right, here is the original. Hopefully you can tell who it is. Erotic smile, sensual hands stroking chest and guitar strings with equal passion. Rhythmic drum tempered by lyrical falsetto. Diminutive frame bedecked in velvet, amplified with expansive hair and towering glittering shoes. Raspberry and purple notes coloring our experience, waiting for the world to end by dancing till we dropped. Any guess who it was?
Does anyone guess who it was? I know it was a rock star.
Prince?
It was Prince.
Good
That was
guess.
great. Thanks.
Awesome.
Great job. At first, I thought it was Michael Jackson from the when you did the first one, but then the other clues were really good. So,
Does anybody else want to share their original or reversal or both?
I will.
Great. Carol and then Minda.
Thanks.
Okay. What I'd like to do is read my original first, if that's okay, and then I'll read the negative shift in reverse order. So I did Ode to Winston Churchill. You rode in my father's cavalry of heroes. I am quiet as a distant star in your presence. I lived in your land as a child and loved the buttercups in the field. I wonder whether a stone banister carries your hand along the English countryside, resolute to your touch. I will share my stone with you when I come, my dancer's cape flying in rhythm with your horse's mane.
Beautiful.
And this is the negation of the words in reverse order. I will protect my dreams when I leave, my soldier's uniform folded with your child's shoes. I know even clouds reject your body over African deserts, softness notwithstanding. I died far away as an old woman and hated the lilies on my grave. I am noisy as the nearest truck outside your door. You walked in my mother's band of misfits.
Yay.
Very different.
Very different, but there's something weirdly the same as well. And like, I don't know what, I can't say what, but there's something almost the same energy about both pieces. So interesting.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Minda was.
Yeah, I got through the first part, like in the last part, I only got through half of them. So I don't know if you want me to read. Just go ahead and read it, what I have.
Why don't you share what you like? If you want to share the partial one, go for it. We'd love to hear it. But if you just want to share the first one, that's fine.
I'll share the first one, and then I kept getting stumped on. Anyway, I was like, what word works? Okay, so do you want me to tell who it's about, or do you want me to read it and then guess?
Let's guess.
Okay. Blonde, beautiful, idolized as the sun was idolized by the Incas. Perfect, pampered, and pressed into service by the limelight of Hollywood. Controlled and left lonely and unsatisfied by the corrupt eating machines of the movie makers. Catapulted into the blazing stratosphere of the stars, only to be dashed and crushed upon the rocks of fame and infamy.
That'd be Marilyn Monroe.
It is. It is. It is. Yep. Yep. You're right.
Thank you. I love it. Anybody else?
Got one. I've
Yeah.
got one.
Gail, and I think Mary, did you have your hand up too? Okay, Gail, and then we'll see who's next after that.
Barbara.
Okay, shall I go?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start with the reverse negative and then do the original. You made us laugh like dogs. You made us cry like babies. We rue the hours spent with you, seeing now that your heart was blocked. We hate Mr. Shorewater, just like a man he did not share. We knew you lost in death, wise but wizened. And now the original. We met you first as Mork, naive as a baby about our human habits. We loved you as Mrs. Doubtfire, maternal like a cross between a Jersey cow and a grizzly bear. We watched you with anticipation, awaiting your wit, unstoppable like an open faucet. You made us laugh like hyenas. You made us wail like banshees.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams, yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, who is next? You want to share, Andrew? Did you have your hand up?
I think I did. But was Barbara? Was her hand up also?
Yes, Barbara. That's who it was. Barbara,
You're muted, Barbara.
Now, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. This is on seeing Doris Day in a movie. Your quiet smile like a sunrise. Just say. Your wide smile like a sunrise, your quiet voice as smooth as honey, your black velvet dress fitting like a glove, your blonde hair crowning a perfectly curved body. Oh, Doris, you made my day glisten. And here it is the other way. Oh, that was the right way. Sorry, that was 1 through 5. Now I'm going to do 5 through 1. You made my day a horror. Your baldness tops your wretchedness. Your nakedness a tangle of diseased limbs. Your, I can't read my own writing. Something, oh, your scream feels like poison. Your sneer takes me to darkness.
Thank you. Let's see. Andrew, do you want to share now?
Yeah, this is pretty short here. Okay. David, our angel of music, how well we ran the race of your labyrinth, hunting for our truth as we frittered away your 13 hours. Your voice that calls out as the world falls down. And then the first piece and then the last piece. Here's the last piece. As the soul drifts up, I fear it's my heartbeat that drowns, losing my lies as I forged in those shiftless minutes. How foul I lurched the pace of my pillared purgatory. Bowie, my demon of vice. That was David Bowie from specifically his role as Jareth the Goblin King in Labyrinth. Miss his music.
Would anybody else like to share?
Sure, I will. Go
Great.
ahead, Mike.
Denise and then Trudy.
And Mike.
And Mike.
Well, mine's short too. Songs from your very being sung as easily as falling rain. A smile like sweet melted ice cream. Moving hips, a welcome shock of flushed warmth. Eyes that beseech your heart for understanding. Soul, suffocated by absolute control, cannot exist. And then to me, when you make it opposite, it's just really weird. And you need a thesaurus or a opposite book. Anger from your feet, striking hard as rocks, a frown like acid boiling, frozen, thrust away in ice, blind, heartless, uncaring, soulless, breathing in confusion, it lives.
That's interesting.
Did you get the person?
Is it a president?
No, it was Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
That's who I wrote about too.
Thought it was the same.
Trudy?
Well, okay, I used the name in both pieces. I didn't realize maybe I wasn't supposed to, but I like them, so I'm going to read them. The first one is the first one, actually, that Vanessa, sweet Vanessa, your patrician beauty still shimmering in silence, darkened theaters, like nuggets of gold. That's Vanessa Red, yeah. Vanessa Redgrave. The second is Virginia, oh Virginia, your dark haunted eyes visit me nightly, shred my dreams like cold winter nights.
Nice.
Really good.
Thank you.
I'm impressed. That one really makes sense. I mean, you know, it's coherent, it's beautiful.
Mike, how about you?
Yeah, all right. So I'll read the first one first and the last one. Nice job with the black hat and the compact motorcycle and jean jacket and the way you took care of Jean and the kids at the school. Sorry about the war and the trouble in the ice cream shop. Sometimes we're stupid and we need your foot right here on the side of our faces. And then the other one. Normally we're smarter. We never needed your hands on our shoulders. We only wanted peace and a perfect bowl of soup. How you ignored Walter and the old guys at the office. The enormous pachyderm, the silk bustier. Poor show with the white gloves.
Ooh, interesting.
Is it James Dean? Who is it?
It's Tom Laughlin, who played Billy Jack. Yeah, you got to be kind of old to remember that one.
I do remember that one. I'm old enough to remember that.
I don't, but that's because I'm too old.
Would anyone else like to share their piece? And then after we finish sharing, I'm just going to leave a couple minutes for questions. Okay. So I also wanted to ask you, what could you see using this exercise for in your writing practice?
Expanding your vocabulary. Because like somebody said, you almost need a thesaurus for some of these words.
I think just to get out of your own head, you know, trying to write the opposite. It just, and it was so fun. I think sometimes you get kind of bored and stuck in your own writing. So this was really fun.
So
Yeah,
glad.
I agree with the fun idea. You know, the other thing is that we're writing story or whatever. It's just really fun to play with words sometimes, you know, just, I mean, I didn't feel like the thesaurus thing as much as I felt like I was just kind of playing with words and putting different things down that I would have normally. So it was just a fun exercise, I thought.
Yeah.
I think something that happens with me, and I hear this from a lot of other writers, is you get into the middle of your piece, whether it's prose or poetry or whatever, and you want to, you sort of hit that slump or that lull in the middle, and you want to do something to the character, have something happen, and a lot of times you've got this sort of path that they want to be on, but it's really nice to do something exactly opposite of what you thought there, you know, to take an opposite and say, what if the complete opposite thing happened right here?
Yeah, I actually do that a lot. Like if I get stuck in a piece, I'll just make myself write the opposite of what I was about to write, just to kind of see what happens. And it doesn't always work. I would say with this exercise, I don't often get like a whole poem just from doing this exercise, but I've had two things happen with this prompt. One is that it makes me use my best lines first instead of saving them for last. That's one thing that's really come out of this exercise for me, is sometimes I'll realize, why am I saving this line? You know, so I'll often ask myself, how would this poem draft be different if I started with the last line? And then also sometimes I'll just get, you know, a couple good lines out of this exercise that I incorporate into the original piece. And it just, you'll get these weirdly powerful lines because, yeah, you're pushing yourself outside your normal vocabulary and such. So, yeah. So we just have, 5-ish minutes for questions for me, if you have any questions at all. About
I have one.
poems or anything. Yeah.
I'm curious. So have you tried this opposites technique with all different kinds of writing? You had us do an ode. I'm curious, you know, what kinds of writing you've tried it with.
Yeah. So that's a really great question, Carol. I've only done it with poetry. Yeah. I think it would be really hard to do a word for word opposite replacement if you were working with prose, but I still think that you could kind of challenge yourself to write the opposite of what you were going to write when you get stuck. So that might be a better way to use it with prose.
Mm-hmm. I've done that. Oh, I forgot I wasn't on mute. Sorry. Yeah, I've done that. That middle time when you're kind of feeling like your middle is a little saggy or whatever, just playing with it and doing the opposite of whatever. And then a lot of times other things, you know, you'll get clarity by just doing the opposite. So I'm going to mute myself again.
I have a question, Jamie. We didn't really get too much into free association. Do you have any suggestions that are just a quick thing that one could do using free association?
Yeah, something I really like to do is I'll take a random poem from a book and then I'll respond to every line. So like I'll respond back to each line. So like you're writing a poem in between the lines of the poet's poem, and then you take their lines out and try to work something together. So, you know, and you're just free associating from their lines. Or you could take like a title, like I did with the Mower to the Glowworms, and free associate from another poet's title. Yeah.
Thank you.
There was a comment that I think Andrew put up about this opposites technique being like spray painted art. Maybe I love that image that, you know, of throwing out something unexpected to see where it falls.
Yeah, I see that. A glorious splatter painting. I like that, Andrew. Yeah, and I think too, you know, even if you have a writers group doing that free association exercise, as silly as it sounds, where you go around and respond to a word, sometimes it's nice if you're in your writers group, when you can finally meet in person again, you can put a theme on it and say, how's everybody doing in one word, and start with the word and free associate with each other. Even though it feels silly, try doing that next time you meet up as a writers group before you write. And it really kind of gets your brain associating, free associating, gets it ready to be silly, gets it into the physical act of it's kind of like improv or something, really, when we're writing moment to moment. So, yeah. All right, you guys. Well, I did have one more prompt. So I will maybe email it to Mike or something, because I think you guys would actually quite like it. So,
Yeah.
Or actually it's at the end of the presentation, so it'll be in here. So the last page, there's another little prompt you can go through if you want.
If you actually want to show that right now, it'll be in the recording.
Yeah, here, let's go back to it. Go. So this book, Writing Alone and with Others by Pat Schneider, it's just one of my all-time favorite books about writing, books about teaching writing. You can see it's very well loved, but this is a prompt from Pat Schneider that uses quite a bit of free association, because you just kind of answer these questions. But if you finish one or any of these poems and you want to share them with me, my email's in the presentation too, and I'm always available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Can you hold up the name of the book again, please?
Yeah, it's called Writing Alone and with Others by Pat Schneider.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about the dog.
I'll try to put that in the chat too. No problem.
All right, I'm going to stop your share now. Oh, you did it. Okay. So thank you. Let's all unmute for a moment and give Jamie an actual auditory round of applause here. How about?
Yay.
Great job. Thank you.
Awesome.
Woohoo.
Yeah, that was really fun.
That was great.
I enjoyed it.
Great job. Thank you.
Yeah. And I loved
Thanks,
hearing your
Jamie.
poetry, Jamie.
It was
I always
awesome.
love hearing your poetry. It's beautiful stuff. Really, really good. And appreciate having you here, and appreciate all of you coming. And we will, in a few days, probably have a recording of this posted on the library site and on our Central Oregon Writers Guild site. And as I mentioned, next month is Ellen Santasiero, and she always does a great job. And that's all I know right now. So good to see you all. Have a lovely evening. Thanks.
You know a lot, Mike.
Paige, anything you want to? You
Nope,
good?
you summed it up. Thanks so
All
much for coming, everyone. Thank
right.
you so much,
night.
Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you
All
next
right.
time.
Bye.
Bye.